Hello and welcome to another round of the Wayports Racing League in Live for Speed. You're watching Division 1. Today it's round number 6 of 10 at Aston Club Grand Prix. I'm Peter Butcher and I'm joined in the commentary box by Adam Brown. Good afternoon, Adam.
Good afternoon, Pete. Yeah, this is going to be another fun round as usual. Beautiful track here, Aston Club. Perfect for some close racing. There's some nice long straights and some tight corners.
Round 6 will take us to Aston Club in Live for Speed. It's pretty short, Adam, but this will be round 6 of the championship, so we're well into the second half of Season 2, and we have plenty of drivers eagerly awaiting the start of this one. The timing sheets have already been pretty close in qualifying as it stands, and here is a quick look at the track today. Adam, it's a 3.1 kilometre circuit, 1.9 miles, with only 7 corners. So where are the key overtaking places, the places we need to watch?
Well, corner 1, definitely. Turn 1. You're going to have to draft all the way down that home straight. You might even see someone draft past someone down the straight and someone draft back past them before the braking zone for turn 1. Turn 2 is not really an overtaking spot at all, but it's a challenge and it's one to watch out for. We could see a lot of drivers going off into the tyre barriers. Also, turn 6 is loads of different lines you can take through there. So it's a good chance for an overtake, but you want to make sure you're not hampering your exit onto the back straight, or the home straight, sorry. So yeah, big fun challenge for the drivers today, and should provide some amazing racing.
It should indeed, in the car that we're running today, the XF GTI. 2 o'clock UTC qualification has started for 10 minutes. We'll bring you pictures of that in just a few moments' time. And then at around about quarter past, we will begin a 16-lap race around this short circuit. Let's take a look at the car. The XF GTI in Live for Speed, one of the demo cars. If you have the game or the simulator, you can grab that for free. A 1.3 litre inline-4 front-engined car with 115 brake horsepower, and it's almost a ton. It's a tricky little beast, and it's pretty much the best way around this track if you want close racing. Let's take a look at the action. Who is about to set a time on the server, Adam?
Well, I believe that the first 2 guys that are out are Andy from Strings and, Mariano from Interlink France. So those guys will be the first to set their times.
Here we are then on the track, and we have Santiago for Strings, who had an interesting race last week, didn't he, Adam?
Yeah, very interesting race. It's a good finish for him, but got quite lucky in the end.
He did. Let's turn our attention to how that shapes up the Drivers' and Teams' Championship then, shall we? Over in the Drivers' Championship, it's Mariano for Interlink France leading the way with 120 points over Andy for Strings. Valentina is in P3 at the moment, but only 5 points separate her from Santiago now in the championship. Ian missed last week and therefore dropped a few places, but he's in P5 with 45 points. Then it's Felipe, his teammate, in 6th, William for Interlink Brazil, Eduardo for Interlink Argentina, Camilla for Interlink Argentina, and Fabrizio there, still with 2 points on the table, even though he is no longer with us, and he is being replaced by Arthur for the remainder of the season. But anyway, that's the story in the drivers' standings. Let's turn our focus to the teams, and as you probably guessed, it's Interlink France leading the way. The gap to Strings is pretty small, but there we are. Bundles in P3 comfortably. Then we've got Interlink Argentina and Interlink Brazil at the back. Adam, we've got some times on the board.
Yeah. I think Andy messed up his turn 1 a bit, so even with a big mistake, he's less than half a second behind Mariano, so they're just looking good for Andy.
Yeah, these times are pretty much what we expected to see at this early stage of qualifying. The drivers have not yet put all of the heat into the front tyres of this car that they need in order to set the optimum lap time. We expect them to get close to the bottom of the 123s, especially Mariano and Andy. Andy not in the 23s yet. He's done a 124.0. And we're watching Mariano from Interlink France, who didn't go all his way last week. He had a bit of an incident on lap 1, battled his way through, but couldn't get on the top step for the first time this season. Andy took that the clean sweep last week, Adam.
Yeah, he did indeed. It was very impressive. He kind of just led from start to finish. It was helped by the fact that Mariano did get bumped on the first lap, but I reckon he definitely had the pace to do it anyway.
We ride on board with Mariano for a lap around Aston Club in Live for Speed. Here he goes across start finish. Then we've got a bit of a wait. We've got a right-handed kink before we go underneath the Wayports bridge, before he must move over to the left-hand side of the track and line himself up for the braking zone. Adam, talk us through the first corner.
Yeah, so the first corner, very heavy braking zone. You want to scrub off as much speed as you can and in as little time as you can. And Mariano's a bit wide there. I would have taken a tighter line through there, but it will mean that he has a better exit down towards turn 2, which is very challenging. You've got to sort of four-wheel drift the car into the first part, and then scrubbing off as little speed as possible. You want to cut that curb as much as you can without hitting the tyre barrier. Make sure you don't hit the barrier on the left on the exit, and run down through this flat out 4 and 5, I guess you call it a chicane, and set the car up for turn 6, which is a very challenging braking zone. You're turning right while under the brakes, so you can't use the full brakes. Just make sure he's very tight and gets on the power early. You don't want to get on the power too early, otherwise you're going to go straight into the tyre barriers on the left. Looks to me like he got a fairly good exit that time around, so this should be a decent lap.
Meanwhile, Andy for Strings set a blistering lap. He's nearly in the 122s, and as Mariano comes across the line, it is no improvement on that attempt. So Andy there, while we were watching Mariano do a nice and smooth lap, has gone 4.5 tenths quicker. Curb, you need to take the shortest route around the track, essentially, in order to get the optimum lap time. And it's not a difficult track, is it, Adam? But it is really, really easy to give away precious lap time on the brakes around here.
It's definitely easy to learn, hard to master sort of thing. There's a lot of little tenths that can be made here and there. It's a good challenge.
Currently 8 drivers have set a lap time. There you can see that Mariano is in a string sandwich at the moment, and he's got 0.3 of a second to Santiago behind, but he has a mountain to climb if he wants to get ahead of Andy. Half a second now, the gap. Let's see what Andy can manage on this lap as he comes around the final chicane. A nice line there, nice and smooth. Pulls out onto the home straight for what will be he'll probably get a few more attempts. We've still got 3 minutes on the timer here. Here comes Andy across start finish. Will he improve? Let's see what he can manage. No improvement on that lap, but he'll have plenty of temperature in the front tyres, so we should start to see what he's really made of. Can he improve on the laps that he has remaining in the session?
Yeah, Mariano, slight improvement there on that lap. Improved by 1/10, but he's still about 4 tenths down on Andy's time, which is quite a big gap around a track like this. It's only a 1 minute 20 lap, which is, I mean, it's not super short, but it's not very long.
No, there's only two real braking zones in this track, remember. So, yeah, 2 rather long straights separating those two. But anyway, here we are. Santiago is making improvements as well. He's also in the 123s, and he is only a small chunk behind Mariano. He would sorely love to line up alongside his teammate on the front row of the grid. Let's see if he can manage it. He's coming up to the final sector of the lap. Just one little chicane. Adam, you called it a chicane during your commentated lap. I think it's less of a chicane when you're doing it on your own, but it's certainly a chicane when you've got a car next to you, which we're probably going to see at some point during the 16 laps of racing we've got coming up. Santiago taking quite a narrow line into the final corner, and then over this little curb onto the home straight. Let's see, can he improve? It looked like a decent end to the lap. Let's see, 1:23.95 is his best lap so far, as he trundles his way up this massive home straight.
Yeah, in front of them we saw Andy improving by 0.02 of a second, and Mariano by about another 1/10. So it's getting a bit closer up at the front.
Yeah, Santiago didn't improve. Eduardo from Argentina comes across the line. He's in P4, but there is a second between Santiago and Eduardo, so there's certainly a bit of a void. Someone who would sorely love to fill that void is Ian. Can he improve? Not that time round. Valentina would also love to improve, as she is making her way past pit entry. and down towards the start-finish line. She's got a bit of damage on her car and has opted to stay out rather than repair it. But yes, P6 only at the moment.
Yeah, it's not just Valentina that will be hoping that she improves. Mariano will be hoping that Valentina can challenge Santiago, but with the 3-second gap that there is there, I'm not sure that's going to be happening.
No, we just saw that was Arthur for Interlink Brazil going off in the final corner, just ahead of Mariano actually now as he rejoins. He's not going to want to get in the way because Mariano will be on his final attempt. Andy's going to cross the start-finish line. This will be, will he? Oh, he'll get one more attempt, Adam, because he's crossed the line before it went to 0. He didn't improve on that lap, so he's got one more. Mariano, this is going to be it. This is it again. So he's not timed it as well as he probably could have done, and he hasn't improved. So it's P2 at best for the championship leader at the moment, and Santiago won't improve either because he's in the pits. So it's all on Andy. Can Andy take? He's given up.
Looks to me like Andy's aborted the lap. Yeah, maybe his tires look like perfect condition. So I wonder if he just didn't have enough fuel.
Yeah, here comes Andy. He will not get another attempt, of course, but this will be his final timed lap. He's 2.3 seconds off pole. Can he get anywhere near the front? He's had a week off. No improvement there. So Valentina will be the last car to cross the line before we can get our final qualification result. And it's a big improvement actually on time, and that will pop Valentina up into P5. Nicely done. That was a big improvement at the end there, a 125.11, Adam.
Yeah, a very big improvement. It's about a second and a half that she gained on that final lap. Story of this qualifying is Andy's continuing his form, being very fast in qualifying.
Andy for Strings takes pole position in a 123.06 over Mariano for Interlink France. It's encouraging to see that the gap at the front is so tight still, and we say this, don't we? But it's nice to see a change at the top. Andy setting the timing screens alight. Mariano has another day of challenge on his hands. Santiago able to put it in P3 there, the only other driver underneath the 124s. Then it's Eduardo for Interlink Argentina. Valentina with that late lap, putting it on P5 for the Interlink France team. Then we've got Ian for Bundles in P6. Nice to see him back in the championship. William for Interlink Brazil in P7. And Arthur, his teammate, behind in P8. So, Adam, we've got an absolutely fantastic race coming up. 16 laps of Aston Club in Live for Speed. And it certainly looks like a challenge is on Mariano's hands again, because he has 6 cars behind him who may cause some trouble into turn 1. What do we think? Will he get away safely this time round?
Yeah, there's definitely a good chance for Santiago to make a drive up the inside into turn 1, but I reckon they've been fairly clean for the most part so far, so I doubt we'll see much issues. It's a very wide entry into turn 1.
Yeah, well, we're going to take a very quick break here, and we'll be back in just a few moments' time for round 6 of the Wayports Racing League second season in Live for Speed. Don't go anywhere. It's the Aston Club GP. Hello and welcome back to Wayports Racing League Season 2, Round 6 from Aston Club GP in Live for Speed. You're watching Division 1 of the Championship live. And yeah, Adam, we just had a fascinating qualifying session with Andy and Mariano at the top of the timing sheets once again.
Yeah, it was Andy still maintaining very fast qualifying laps, but Mariano's definitely there for the challenge into turn 1. I hope he had a good start. I believe he's got the inside line on the grid.
Let's turn our attention to the grid. The drivers are ready, and so are we for the start of this one, Adam. Here they are. We have Andy for Strings lining up on the front row, and the car in the background is Mariano for Interlink France. Here we go. 4 red lights, and we are green here at Aston Club in Live for Speed as all the cars make their way off the grid. Adam, talk us through this.
Yeah, it looks like Santiago got a good start, but he's not going into the slipstream of Mariano. He's obviously leaving a bit to make sure that he's alongside to the right point. Doesn't look like Mariano's going for him. He's going for a move now. He's going for the inside, but he doesn't have much of an overlap. gets on the brakes really late and he runs out wide. And
Yeah.
that lets Santiago pass. Santiago's alongside
Oh!
and there's contact.
Yeah, Santiago just didn't see Mariano on the inside, and it's forced him off. And we've got some more contact in the background. That's Ian again having a trouble in Wayports Racing League, and that's probably going to give him some damage. He's very familiar with, as we now see Eduardo in the wall, but he's in P2 for now. I think Mariano's probably going to swing past him on the straight. He's got him, so that means it's a big lead then for Andy, and Mariano is back into P2, but it didn't go all his way at the start.
Yeah, I'm not really sure whose fault that was, because Mariano did not have any sort of chance of getting past Santiago on the exit, and he had the smallest bit of overlap, which just turned Santiago around. So it's an interesting one, that, but Mariano's definitely lucky to get away from that relatively unscathed.
Yeah, Valentina looked like she was going to go in the pit lane, decides not to. She is in P4 at the moment with Eduardo in just ahead of her. But yes, it looks like it's close between William and Santiago, who after that close contact, well actually yes, contact with the wall, has to do everything all over again to try and get to the front of the field. 2.7 seconds separated the leaders at the line. And let's see, can Mariano's race pace catch him up to Andy, or will Andy disappear at the front? Only time will tell.
Mariano's still doing that wide line into the first corner. I'm wondering if he knows something that we don't. I still don't believe it'll be faster, but maybe it's better on the tyres or something like that.
Yeah, 16 laps is not a trivial amount of laps in this car, especially if you put lots of energy through the fronts. We just saw Santiago make his way past one of the Interlink Brazil cars. It was William, and it's getting close between Eduardo and Valentina. Valentina started P5, is up to P4, and looks set to have a little bit of a battle with the sister car, the Interlink Argentina team.
Yeah, she's got a real burst of pace, as it looks like Eduardo's gone wide.
Yeah,
Eduardo's gone wide and he's in the gravel.
Now that's not going to be good for his race. He's going to drop back probably behind Santiago. There he goes, just ahead of Williams. So there we are. Valentina back into P3 as Andy takes the fastest lap of the race. Mariano is dropping back, Adam.
Yeah, Mariano's still close. His times are close, but they're just not as fast.
Look at the back of Ian's car as this camera pans round. You can see that yet again, Ian has rear track damage. We say it every time he's on camera. Somehow the incident at the first corner has given him that damage we're so used to seeing on the Bundles car. He just cannot escape trouble, it seems, on the opening lap.
Got very close to the back of William there. It's a good move he's made into turn one. William just left the door open, just enough room for Ian to stick his nose in, and got the power on earlier, but
there we are. Further contact with the two, and that was a bit unclean, I have to say. And well, there we are. Ian does make his way through in front. He just gets such a run of bad luck. Didn't really do anything wrong there, just wrong place at the wrong time. Here we go. Santiago's trying to get back past Valentina, having had a pretty wobbly start to the race. He's on the inside. This is going to be close. Valentina's going to have to go the long way around, and she does. And they're going to be side by side up the straight, Adam.
Yeah, Santiago will be looking to get back into the draft. Valentina's right over on the left-hand side again, baiting the pit. But yeah, that was an interesting line by Santiago. I knew that as soon as I noticed him go to the inside, I knew that he just wasn't going to get as good an exit as Valentina. And he's not even close enough to get into the draft.
No, so when Adam mentions the draft, he means slipstreaming, I guess, is the more common phrase. Getting in behind another car to get use of the lack of, well, the fast-moving air, I suppose, as Valentina goes wide, and that will allow Santiago through.
Yeah, it's a bit of an unforced error there. I'm not really sure what happened. Maybe Valentina was just a bit late on the brakes. Didn't get the car stopped in time and ran wide, much like Mariano did on the first lap.
Well, it's kind of a similar story to last week, except instead of being Santiago, it was Mariano last time. But anyway, Santiago is back up into the podium places. We've got a bit of a battle on with the Inklink Brazil cars. That's Arthur moving ahead of the what I would say is the more experienced of the pair, actually, William, who seems to have enough damage of his own now. But yeah, there we are, those two at the back. Story at the front is that Andy is pulling away. That is basically the summary. 4.2 seconds at the split. Let's see what it is over the line as Mariano comes up to the line now, and we'll get an update for you. It's now 4.6.
Yeah, another fastest lap there for Andy. A very impressive time for a race time there. Full of fuel and still able to go faster than Mariano's qualifying time. So this is definitely rubbing his pace in the face of Mariano.
Yeah, I'm sure Andy will be very pleased with his performance so far. As we have Ian in the pit lane, he does not repair that damage, and he will move off and will rejoin probably around about where Arthur is. Let's see, here comes Arthur up to the start-finish line. Yeah, he'll be comfortably ahead. Obviously, Arthur has not yet set his pit stop, but it does look like Arthur has a more friendly car as Ian gets a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So it goes from bad to worse on his return to Wayports Racing League. Let's see what's going on.
Also looks like William from Interlink has been in the pits, but it was a tele pit, which means he's pressed a button and he's gone back to the garage and he's reset and he's now on his lap 1. So it's a interesting decision by William there, but he should still get some points.
If he finishes, he'll be classified for sure. But here we go. We have, as we got Eduardo into the tyre wall, he was about to line up Valentina for a move, but instead of going for a move, he's moved all the tyres with his car. But it is pretty close, you have to say, between 3rd to 5th, Adam. Santiago leading the way here.
Yeah. Santiago's pace is much better than the two behind him. His pace is on the same level as Mariano, only about a 10th in their lap times over the last lap. So Santiago will be really annoyed by that contact on lap 1, which definitely really wasn't his fault. But yeah, Mariano, if he keeps the pace up, Santiago won't catch him.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. We know Mariano is fairly consistent. He's pretty consistent when he wants to be in the race, especially if he's in his own little bubble. Santiago is a little bit more of an unknown, but yeah, we'll see. Can he close the gap down? It's currently 9 seconds, so it's gone up a little bit. Yeah,
Santiago made a little mistake there in the first chicane. Brushed the tyre wall. That probably slowed him down quite a lot, because he'll be slow for the rest of that straight as he... Mariano also with quite a wide line through that final corner.
Yeah, everybody is quite spread out now. The closest battle is between Santiago for strings and Valentina for Inklink France for the
Looks
podium.
To me like Santiago's just rolled it on my track map.
There we go. You're right. That's a very strange place to roll it. It looks like he's gone over that curb at the final corner, the inside curb, and has just unloaded the right side of the car, and it's just gone over on him. And I think he's lost. He doesn't know which way to go, so he's just gone from one gravel trap into the opposite gravel trap. That's the way. Yeah, that's the one. Oh dear. So yeah, there we go. Valentina back on the podium, and Santiago's got it all to do for the second time this afternoon.
Yeah, he did take a little reset there, so any damage that he had is no longer there, and he's got fresh tires again. So maybe a good decision there from Santiago to reset. Well, he didn't really have much choice.
No. Either do what William did or reset the car. We're riding on board with Eduardo as he comes through the chicane. He's doing a lot of four-wheel sliding there, missing the first apex, but getting the second one plenty sorted out, and onto this short run down to the final corner complex. That is Valentina for Inklink France disappearing over the crest ahead. And Eduardo needs to set his sights. He needs to focus on that car and try and close this gap by being as smooth as possible. We've got Arthur for Inklink Brazil taking his one and only scheduled pit stop, and it looks like a long one. He's repaired the damage he had.
He's right on the edge of his pit box. He almost missed it. Of course, he would have just gone to the next one along, but that just costs time if you have to stop and start.
Let's watch Andy and let's try and compare the kind of the driving styles of the top two at the moment, as Andy goes quite wide around turn one. The reason I want to do this actually, Adam, is because the gap at the front is still steadily rising, so we need to try and find out where it is that Andy is stronger than Mariano. So yeah, nice tight line over the curbs into the first chicane onto the back straight now. That looked pretty great. So yeah, just besides a slightly wider line at the first corner, let's see how Andy navigates the final section. Again, great line over the first curb and the second. He's got a good eye of this car. He's really honed his skills over the last few weeks.
Well, yeah, those hundreds of laps of practice that he's done over the past few months in this car, I'd probably say thousands actually,
Probably.
have definitely
Yep.
paid off. It's gone very fast through that final corner as well.
Yeah, the wide line at turn one probably cost him 0.2 of a second as Mariano does close up a little bit, but that was a very nice final sector, I have to say, from Andy. As he comes across the line, we will get an update on the gap to see how that was. And yeah, it looked pretty good, pretty strong time for our race leader. Let's turn our focus back to Mariano. 6.4 seconds the gap now.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's I mean, it started, let's say, at about 3 seconds because of Mariano's contact on the opening lap, but it's a big gap.
Yeah, a similarly wide line at turn one for Mariano. Let's see what Mariano does as he approaches the first chicane. We saw how smoothly Andy took it on the previous lap. Very gentle with the car. Mariano's a little bit late on turning. He's missed the first apex a bit, and that was okay on the second part. So just giving away those tiny fractions of time, which just allows Andy to just squeak that gap up a bit. Here comes Mariano towards the final sector of the lap. Wide sweeping chicane, but still important to take the apex. Again, he's missed the first part, and that means he's missed the second part, and you can hear the rear tires just squealing a little bit. That means the car is unsettled. And similar tighter line into the final corner, but he has gone a bit deep. Can he get the car back to the apex? Not quite. So yeah, this is where he's losing time. It's just about finding that straight line through the corners as Mariano bails to the pit lane.
Yeah, Mariano putting almost 180 degrees of lock on with the throttle on through that final corner. It's definitely one way to heat your tires up, and it will slow you down onto the straight as he misses his pit box.
Yeah, that's going to cost him more time. He has to bail to the next one, but he's chosen lap 10 to do it, and he will cross the line. Oh, sorry, lap 9 actually. Andy's on the next lap. So Mariano heads on to lap 10, and he's going to lose a place, is he, to Valentina? Valentina's already up to full speed. So Valentina has not been in the pit lane yet, and that is going to cause a headache for Mariano if he has to try and get his way past his teammate. Yeah, Adam, we've contrasted their laps. We've seen where Andy is fast and where Mariano is perhaps lacking a little bit, and it really does seem that as Valentina moves out of the way, actually quite easily of Mariano there, that Andy just over the last few weeks, he's on another level now.
Yeah, he's just so much smoother than he was at the start of the season. I think that's definitely the way I would put it. Obviously worked very hard on not maybe pushing so hard, just making sure that he goes through the motions, hits all the apexes, is careful on his brakes, careful on his throttle. That's how you get fast. You don't get fast by pushing really hard. You get fast by being calculated and measured with your driving. And
yeah,
Andy's definitely built on that, done a lot of work there. His consistency is incredible. He's done a lot of 23.3s this race.
Yeah, Mariano's middle sector was certainly a lot better on this lap. Again, the final sector was a little bit wayward, but here we go, down to start finish. When is Andy going to come into pits? Well, he doesn't have to worry about it. He'll probably time it for when he's catching up to any back markers, so he doesn't get involved with them. But yeah, Andy looks set to be on his way for a second win, actually, in Wayports Racing League Season 2. But anything can happen in WRL, as we've seen, and we will see what happens at the end, as we've got Arthur about to lap Ian. Actually, he's lapping him off the track. Sorry, Ian is lapping Arthur, my mistake. Arthur moving out of blue flag in a little unconventional way there, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, if he gets out of the way, he's getting out of the way. Arthur, obviously a bit more of a beginner than all of our other drivers, and he just wants to make sure that he's not in the way. And if that's the way he does it, then that's the way he does it.
Andy's coming around the final corner on lap 11. Will he pit? No, he's thinking about it. Yes, he does. So he's coming to the pit lane now. So let's see. Mariano missed his pit box, which is very uncharacteristic of Mariano. He's normally pretty solid with his pit stops. Let's see. Can Andy nail it? He's got no damage to repair. So let's see which pit box is he going to go for. Nicely done. And off he goes. So a perfect stop for Andy. Just needs to keep the car within the pit lane speed limit. And he's out. That was the fastest stop of the race so far, Adam. 1.6 seconds.
Yeah, Mariano will have lost about 2 or 3 seconds, or maybe even 5 seconds over the pit lane stuff there, and definitely not good for him. I mean, he's 16 seconds behind. Now, that gap might not be representative. It might be a bit closer because Andy still has to speed up out of the pit lane, but yeah.
We've had Valentina and Eduardo coming pretty close in the pit lane. Valentina takes a very quick stop, and Eduardo now for his. But yes, you're right, Adam. The gap will come down a little bit at the sector time. Mariano was already up to full speed when Andy was exiting the pit lane, but the gap has certainly come up. We saw an onboard of Andy as he was leaving the pit lane, and yeah, Mariano was nowhere to be seen. Valentina's rejoined behind Santiago, so Santiago is back on the podium briefly because he's yet to pit.
Now, Santiago, if he puts in some good laps, as I think Valentina's gone wide. I'm looking on my track map there. Yeah. So, I mean, that's not a big enough mistake that it's going to cost her a pit stop time's worth. But if Santiago can keep doing some good laps and Valentina makes a couple more mistakes, there's a chance that he could get past her.
Yeah, the gap to Andy at the front has gone up by 4 and a bit seconds. So that's what Mariano, that was what the error in the pit lane cost him. And with 13 laps on the board at the end of this one, I don't think there's enough time for Mariano to catch unless something goes catastrophically wrong with the Strings car ahead. Now, in terms of the championship, Adam, we're 5 rounds in. Today we'll make it 6, so we're solidly in the second half of the championship after the results of this race are confirmed. Is it too early to say whether Andy could claw this back?
I mean, if he keeps up with these finishes and these results, he definitely can. He's going to be... he's probably, unless Mariano pulls something out of the bag, he's probably going to get the triple crown again, if that's what it's called, when you get the fastest lap and pole and you win the race, which is going to be an extra 2 points. You get 2 points. You get 1 point for fastest lap, and you get 1 point for qualifying on pole. So Andy will be clawing back more points than just a win.
Absolutely. And as Andy comes to the line, he will have 3 laps to go here at Aston Club. Ian has served his drive-through penalty and makes his way back out onto the track, just ahead of our leader, actually. But yeah, he will not have any further trouble in the race because he's now served the penalty. So no disqualification for him. Here we go then, 3 laps to go. Andy has a gap of probably what will be about 12 seconds as Mariano comes across the line as well. It's 11.6 seconds, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite crazy. I mean, yeah, Mariano had a tiny bit of contact at the start of this race, but compared to last race where he was, well, quite frankly, rammed off the track, the gap is similar. It was around 12 seconds at this point in the last race. Obviously, Andy is just so much faster around this track.
Yeah, this is certainly one that has favoured the Strings driver, and we'll have to ask Mariano if we get a chance to speak to him in the interviews after the race, whether that's just something that has taken him by surprise today. We've got Andy just about to get past the back marker. Ian, let's see how this goes. Of course, this is the only sort of thing that is really going to help Mariano at this stage, whether Andy has any trouble lapping, and absolutely no issue there. Ian, fully aware that there was a lapped car behind him, moves out of the way, and Andy is free to go on his merry way in the lead, and still banging in great lap times, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, he will have been slowed down a wee bit. I noticed he had lifted off quite a bit to make sure he didn't go into the back of Ian. But yeah, I mean, Mariano also has to lap those cars in front, so any time that Andy's lost, Mariano is probably going to lose as well.
Yeah, speaking of, Mariano is side by side with one of the Interlink Brazil cars. And there we are. That car on the brakes, letting him through. That's Arthur. Nicely done. Santiago currently occupying that third step on the podium. This is really good for Strings' championship if Valentina cannot get that. But anyway, here comes Santiago for his pit stop. There's a 10-second gap-ish to Valentina behind. But I do think that Santiago... Oh,
he's missed his
pit box.
Now, if this was as clean as Andy's pit stop, he might have had a chance to catch Valentina, but he definitely doesn't now.
Well,
I mean,
even though his stop was quite long, he was spent quite a lot of time in the pit lane. That was actually the fastest pit stop in terms of being stationary. So that's a shame for him. He could maybe have been fighting Valentina at the end. But anyway, Valentina is out and well ahead. And now Santiago needs to worry about where Eduardo is. Eduardo is currently timing out of the server. He's gone. So we've lost Eduardo. He could have had a place there. That's a shame.
He will rejoin, but I'm not sure if he'll get any points. He might do if he's classified.
He'll have to set a lap, and I don't think he can do it, can he? Yes, he can. So if he gets out now, actually, Andy's already on the final lap. So if Eduardo leaves the pits now, he may get one lap registered.
Yeah, Eduardo's back out onto the track. He'll have to make sure not to get into the way of anyone, but
yeah, and Andy did actually lose some time on that lap. On the previous lap, he just set the fastest lap, and there we go. The gap's gone back up again, so ignore me. But yeah, a tiny glitch there for Andy, but he has taken the fastest lap again of the race as Mariano gives a friendly toot to Eduardo.
Andy with fastest lap by a couple tenths. I wonder if he'll go for a 22 on this lap, on the final lap. Would be a great way to end the race. He's got very smooth line through that chicane. This is looking like a good lap.
Let's see what his sector time is. The sector time is around about here, and let's see, can he get the fastest lap on the final lap of the race? That would really rub salt in the wound for everybody else. Slightly down on his best, but let's see. Final corner of the race. He's got an Interlink Brazil car, unfortunately placed. William will get out of the way, though, I hope. Unfortunately, there we go. We see Andy has to navigate the back marker. But anyway, here comes Andy, flashing the lights already in celebration as he heads up to the start-finish line. And Adam, what a race for Andy. 12.3 seconds the gap, and he comes across the line to win his second race in Wayports Racing League Season 2, and it happens to be round 6. It's going to be a little bit of a wait then for Mariano.
Yeah, very impressive. Another commanding victory from Andy. Mariano will be annoyed by this. He was looking to bounce back after last week, but doesn't look like he's managed to do it.
Yeah, Valentina, if you can navigate the final corner, will be pretty happy to have secured P3. Santiago, again, I think his own worst enemy in this series, it seems. Didn't make it easy for himself. Valentina comes out the final corner, takes her usual tight line, which always makes us think she's going into the pit lane. But here we go, not into the pit lane. A cross start finish to take a very well-deserved podium. Another podium for Interlink France and another podium for Valentina. Good stuff. Santiago will be the final car on the lead lap, Adam.
He will indeed. I believe Eduardo's decided not to finish the race. He is not on the timing sheet there. Yeah, he did not finish, so Eduardo won't be getting any points for Interlink Argentina.
But here we are. There is our winner, Andy, for Strings, as all the Interlink France cars kind of align themselves. Oops, I think Valentina's been caught up in a bit of a shunt, but there we are. Andy wins ahead of Mariano. And we will get the full results on our screen. Sorry, Adam.
Yeah, sorry. So Andy, very, very commanding victory there. Fastest lap again. It was a 12-second gap in the end there, I believe. It was indeed 12.23 seconds at the end. And then behind Mariano, Valentino was 50 seconds behind Andy. So those two they're in a league of their own. Santiago will be very annoyed with fourth. He definitely had the pace for third, and he possibly could have even challenged Mariano for second. Unluckily, got contact on the first lap, and then he rolled it. And Ian from Bundles in 5th with another solid result. Arthur from Interlink Brazil in 6th. William from Interlink Brazil in 7th. And Eduardo rounding out the grid with unfortunately timed out in 8th. So yeah, solid result from everyone there.
Absolutely. And I think it's time to talk to a few drivers, Adam. I'm going to have a chat with it's Andy from Strings. Andy, can you hear us?
Hi, I'm there. Yeah. Hello.
Well, 2 from 2. How do you feel?
That's great. Absolutely, absolutely. The first consistent race I drove ever. That won't never come again. That was so lucky.
Yeah, you had quite a commanding victory last time around, and then basically repeated it again. But you're even more consistent than you were last week. Is that something you've been working on, or is this track just easier?
I guess the track is easier. Less opportunities to flip your car, so you can push hard without any risk. And it has a lot to do with setup. And I heard Mariano crashed his setup, and I'm sorry for that because that would have been a very, very close race with him.
You mentioned that it wasn't very difficult to flip your car. You might want to give your teammate that memo. He rolled it in the race.
I see. Oh, that's a shame. Again, he needs a bit more luck. He has the pace. He could drive on the front of the race. He has a great pace, but I'm so sorry for that to hear that.
Yeah. Something you might not know, but you got pole position, the fastest lap, and the race win last time, and you did the same thing today. So congrats! You got the three achievements that we tend to keep track of here in the championship. So you've made it 2 from 2 in commanding fashion. How does this set you up for the remainder of the season? We have 4 rounds to go now, and with a solid result like that, surely you must think you're going to be challenging Mariano come the end of the season.
Yeah, I think it will be a close battle between us and the Interlink France team. They are ahead of us, comfortable still, even with that win. But it will be thrilling. I'm so excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I've done the maths correctly, but if my maths is correct, I believe you will only be 10 points behind Mariano after we tally the points. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's good, and it can change next time when Mariano wins and has the Grand Slam with 27 points and me only 18 or less. So he can step ahead. So it's only maths. It's like you feel about that and closing up, and the gap will be very, very small maybe next time. So this is a good feeling, of course.
Well, we hope it's small, and we hope to see you doing similar things next week. Congratulations again, Andy.
Yeah, thanks a lot, and see you on the track. See you. Bye.
Andy there for Interlink. For Strings, my mistake. Let's have a word with Mariano for Interlink France. Mariano.
Hey.
How's it going? 12 seconds behind Andy in the end, but we thought it was going to be tight in qualifying. You did have some pace in the car, but at the end of the day, Andy has done it again. He's got the Triple Crown. How do you feel?
Well, I mean, yeah, that was one to forget for me. I am at a loss to explain it. I did some laps on Sunday, and I got, like, with a full tank, I got an easy 23.0. So I was pretty confident. And then, I don't know, I think I fiddled too much with my setup. I was not comfortable. I was having a horrible pace in the race, and I overdid it. I knew if I had a chance, it would be that first turn. I went wide. Then I don't know what happened. Santiago probably didn't see me and just closed the door. So that added more time for a gap to Andy. Then I missed my it was a disaster. I missed my step. I wanted to do a really quick stop, and I missed my slot. I never do that, and it happened in this race. But yeah, these things tend to happen. It's just I'm happy for Andy. I'm happy for Valentina. Good points for the championship still. So yeah, on to the next one, I guess.
Yeah, we did pick up on the fact that it was an uncharacteristic error in your pit stop. So hopefully you can sort that out for next time. Any different approaches you're going to take to practice to try and close that gap to Andy? He seems to be in a league of his own at the moment.
Yeah, he's hard to stop, and he has the time to put in those laps. Yeah, he's unstoppable. So for me, yeah, I would say finding more time in the week to put in those laps. That's definitely it.
Yeah,
Do
and
you
that's
ever?
sorry, go on,
Sorry.
Adam.
Yeah. When you're practicing, do you ever use telemetry, or do you just kind of do it with feel? Work on your laps by yourself without much
Yeah,
outside help.
I keep an eye on the tires. I keep an eye on how it usually performs during race time. I do different things. I don't know what happened. At some point, I kept working on the setup, and I lost it at some point, and I could never get it back.
Well, it's great to hear from you again, Mariano. Best of luck for your practice and preparation for round 7. We're well into the second half of the championship, and with Andy on pace, you're going to start looking behind you, I'm sure. So, yeah, best of luck.
Yeah, thanks. We got a race for the title. That's cool. It's exciting.
It's good stuff.
See you guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Mariano there, sounding a bit dejected, wouldn't you say, Adam, for Inkling France there?
Definitely, yeah. He has every right to be dejected. If what he says is true, then he will be very annoyed that he's tinkered a bit too much with his car, because he might have had the pace for the win.
Let's have a chat to the driver on the third step of the podium. It's another visit to the podium for you, Valentina.
Hello, yeah, I'm very excited. It was a pretty chill race for me. So I'm very, very happy. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you make of the Aston Club track? Was it one that you thought you'd do well at?
Well, I hadn't tried it before because I was absent when we were assigned this track during the last season. So it was the first time for me with Aston, and I must say I was very lucky, and I really, really enjoyed it and like it. So yeah, hopefully we see it again in a future season. Yeah.
Well, good stuff. It certainly paid off for you today. You got your another podium under your belt for WRL Season 2. How do you feel about the team's progress, Interlink France's progress in the team's championship against Strings as we head into the latter stages of this second season?
Yeah, well, I think we're much more consistent. Well, yeah, than the previous season. At least myself, I'm trying to be more consistent, unless I have like a very critical and serious accident during the race. I'd say I've been getting much more consistent with my lap times, and that's what I aim at. I try not to overdrive and just be consistent. I don't get like the best lap times, but I'm consistent. Like today, I was consistent with 1:25, so I'm very, very happy with it. I think the Strings team is risking too much sometimes. I saw Santiago's car flipping right ahead of me, so yeah, I think we're getting more consistent and they're getting more variable, but still a threat, definitely.
Yeah, they're definitely a threat, and I'm glad you mentioned Santiago, because we do feel here in the commentary box that you're doing a solid job for Interlink France, with these consistent finishes. And Santiago, he needs to tighten that ship a bit, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, he's had quite unfortunate races, I'd say. Well, unless except in the last one, which I had a very unfortunate race. But yeah, I think there's something there that needs more practice or to be adjusted. So yeah, but the strings team has always been more risky. I'd say we always go for consistency, and they go for risk. So different techniques, I'd say.
Risk versus reward. Well, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming to chat to us again, Valentina, and see you next week.
Thank you, guys. Have a great one.
You too. So, Adam, we've had a chance to talk to the drivers. Give us your thoughts on round 6 of Wayports Racing League Season 2.
Yeah, be very interesting to see if Andy can keep this up, because again, that was a very impressive result from him. Santiago, as we say, it's a big shame that he's making these mistakes, because he definitely can challenge and has the ability to fight for the podium spots, but he's well, I think crashing is the way you have to put it there. He's not the most consistent.
Yeah, so he certainly has some stuff to work on, and work on it he must, because in just 7 short days we are heading to Blackwood Rallycross for some dirt racing at BL3. It will be a bit different to what they've been used to this season, but it won't be the first time we've been to this track, so they should have some sort of idea of how to handle this car on the dirt. Round 7 of Wayports Racing League Season 2 coming your way on June 12th at 2 o'clock UTC. We hope you can join us then. We'll be there. We hope you can be too. Adam, thanks for joining me in the commentary box once again. I've been Peter Butcher. Have a great evening, everybody. See you later.
Goodbye.